Let's go back to the winter of 1959 to a remote mountain deep in the Soviet Urals. It's here that 9 experienced hikers died in one of the most baffling and, frankly, terrifying mysteries of the 20th century. The mountain's name in the local Mansi language is Holat Syakhl, which means dead mountain. Yeah. To this day, the pass where it all happened is named after their leader, Dyatlov Pass. And the story of what happened there, well, it has haunted investigators for over 60 years.
So picture this. It's February 26th, nearly a whole month after the hikers were supposed to be back. A search party is out there, fighting these brutal winds, and they finally spot something on this empty, snow-blasted slope.
It's the group's tent, half buried in snow. But right away, they know something is profoundly wrong. The tent has been sliced open with a knife, but all the cuts were made from the inside. This wasn't an attack. It was a desperate, violent escape. And this is where it gets absolutely bizarre. Leading away from the ruined tent, there's a single line of footprints heading down the slope. The detail that just defies all logic. The prints show that these hikers fled into a negative 30-degree blizzard wearing almost nothing on their feet. Some just socks, some completely barefoot.
This trail of barefoot prints in the snow, it was just the beginning of a chilling investigation. An investigation that would lead to 9 bodies and an official conclusion so strange, it only made the mystery even deeper.
It really all boils down to this one single question. What could possibly terrify a group of seasoned mountaineers so much that they would slash their way out of their only shelter and walk practically barefoot into a lethal storm? This is the core enigma of the Dyatlov Pass incident. To even begin to understand what happened, you have to understand who they were. Because let me tell you, this was not a group of amateurs. Far from it. And you can see it right here. Most of them had led major treks themselves. Their leader, Igor Dyatlov, was incredibly experienced. The oldest member, Semyon Zolotaryov, he was a professional instructor. They were all aiming for their Grade 3 certification. That's the highest hiking honor in the entire Soviet Union. These people knew what they were doing. They were skilled, prepared, and they knew this terrain. And they were a really complex group of people. You had their leader, Igor Dyatlov, a brilliant but kind of intense planner. Zina Kolmogorova was really the emotional core. She wrote in her diary about how awkward it was to have her recent ex-boyfriend on the trip. Then you had Semyon Zolotaryov, a 38-year-old combat vet who was this mysterious, last-minute addition to the group. And critically, you have Yuri Krivonishenko, who worked at a top-secret nuclear plant, a little detail that would end up fueling decades of speculation. So let's walk through their final journey, because it shows just how quickly things went sideways. The trip starts off great, everyone's in high spirits. But on January 28th, a moment of fate, the 10th member, Yuri Yudin, has to turn back because of severe joint pain. He would be the only one to live. Just a few days later, on February 1st, a navigation error in a blizzard leads Dyatlov to make a fateful decision. He decides to set up camp right there on the exposed slope of Holat Syakhl, instead of retreating to the safety of the tree line below. When the search party discovered that final campsite, they began to unravel a story that was just full of contradictions. Nothing seemed to make any sense. Following those footprints, the rescuers found the first victims. Way down by the tree line, a full mile from the tent, they find the bodies of Doroshenko and Krivonishenko next to the remains of a tiny fire. And then, scattered up the slope, as if they were trying to crawl back to the tent, they find Dyatlov, Kolmogorova, and Slobodin. The medical examiner's initial conclusion for these first 5 seemed pretty straightforward. They all died of hypothermia. The 2 men by the fire were found only in their underwear, which was explained by this grim phenomenon called paradoxical undressing. It's where, in the final stages of freezing to death, victims feel this intense delusional heat and just start tearing off their clothes. So, for a moment, it really seemed like the mystery was solved. A horrible, tragic, but understandable accident. The hikers fled for some reason, they got lost, and they froze. But 4 of them were still missing.
And then, on May 4th, as the deep snow finally started to melt, the search team found the last 4 hikers. They were buried in a makeshift snow den down in a ravine. And what they discovered there changed everything.
This is the quote from the lead medical examiner, Dr. Boris Vozrogendy, that turned this whole case into an enduring enigma. He said, "The force that killed them was immense.
like being hit by a car. This single statement added a new, terrifying layer to the mystery.
The injuries were just horrific. Thibaut Bernale had a crushing skull fracture. Dubina and Zolotaryev had sustained devastating chest trauma. We're talking multiple broken ribs, what's called a flail chest. But here's the kicker. They had no major external bruises or cuts. It was as if they'd been squeezed by some incredible unseen force. And the doctor was adamant no human being could have done this.
So now the investigators had two completely different sets of victims, 5 who froze to death and 4 who were killed by injuries like a car crash. Their official conclusion? Well, it was anything but conclusive. Faced with this impossibility, the Soviet investigation basically threw up its hands and declared that the hikers died from an unknown compelling natural force. Then they classified all the files and sealed off the area for 3 years. This vague, secretive ending was basically the perfect breeding ground for conspiracy theories to run wild.
And 2 key anomalies really fueled these theories for decades. First, other hikers in the region reported seeing these strange orange spheres in the sky the night it all happened, which led to speculation about secret military weapon tests. Second, some of the victims' clothing showed traces of radioactivity. Now, both have plausible explanations. Rocket tests were pretty common, and Krivonishchenko's job exposed him to radiation, but the official silence just let the wildest theories flourish. For 60 years, the mystery just sat there, unsolved. But in 2021, a team of Swiss scientists proposed a new theory. It's one that, for the first time, provides a single, rational explanation for all the contradictions. It's called a delayed slab avalanche. So the theory hinges on this sequence of seemingly small events. First, remember how Dyatlov's group dug into the slope to make a flat spot for their tent? Well, that cut weakened the snowpack right above them. Second, powerful katabatic winds blew all night, just piling more and more snow onto that already weakened slab. And finally, hours later, in the middle of the night, the slab failed. A dense, heavy block of snow slid down, slamming into the tent while they slept.
So you might be thinking, wait a minute, an avalanche? Wouldn't the search party have seen that? And that's the key. We think of avalanches as these massive events that leave a huge debris field. But a slab avalanche is different. It's a smaller, localized block of really dense snow. It delivers a crushing blow, and its evidence could have been completely wiped away by the wind in the 26 days before that tent was ever found.
And suddenly, with this one single event, everything clicks into place. The impact of that heavy snow slab hitting their sleeping bodies, that explains the car crash-like internal injuries. The terrifying noise and impact, that explains the panicked/exit from the tent, because they would have been terrified that a much larger slide was coming for them. And it perfectly explains the 2 groups of victims, those who were gravely injured in that initial impact, and those who escaped unharmed only to die later from the cold in a heroic but ultimately doomed attempt to survive. In the end, science gives us the most logical how, but it doesn't diminish the incredible human tragedy of it all. The story of Dyatlov Pass is no longer about monsters or conspiracies, but about a rational, disciplined group fighting for their lives against an impossible situation. A mystery that has echoed for over 60 years, a final silent testament to 9 friends, on a mountain that would forever bear their name.
And so, another chapter closes. For more journeys into history's forgotten files, please like and subscribe. Your next story awaits.